In order to keep bringing you guys tons of free content, we work with brand partners who you'll hear from in this episode, including an advertisement from Zopa Bank. Welcome back to the Talk Twenties podcast. Today we have a very special episode in store for you because I'm joined by the rest of the Talk Twenties team as we share all the tea and a big story time behind this little event we're launching called TwentiesFest. I've literally been banging on about it for years and it's finally happening. So listen in for all the gossip and stay tuned until the very end for a discount code on your ticket. Hello, lovely ladies.
Hello.
How does it feel to be on this side of the podcast?
Terrifying. I am so scared right now.
Georgia, how many times have you literally sat on the other side of the camera?
Probably about 60 maybe now or something like that because we're over 100 episodes.
Yeah.
I think I've done about 60.
Wow. Crazy times.
I know. I was just saying to Gaby before, I don't want to cut myself out of it too much. This is the only bit I'll
You're
end
used
up
to editing
doing.
so many other people and cutting bits out. But yeah, it's honestly, we've long overdue like a podcast like this. So many people think that like Talk 20s is literally just me. Like how? There's no way I could do it without you guys. Like absolutely no way. And they don't see like everything that goes on behind the scenes. And obviously like we're like the 3 full-timers that work for Talk 20s, but we also have like some freelancers that work for us like part-time. Shout out to Felix who joined us for the podcast earlier on in the year. Joe who currently helps us with the assistant production. Jake who writes our newsletter. Jazz, who helping with TwentiesFest as well. Alexa, who helps us with our website. So shout out to those. But for our listeners that have no idea who you two are, or maybe have seen you on our socials but don't really know what you guys do, give them a little introduction. Should we go with you first, Georgia?
Yeah. My palms are sweating. So I started in October. I don't know if you want me to go into like the full, like quick little story of how I actually got my job because I only graduated last year, didn't I? In international business. I hated my degree, but Gaby came in and done a network and talk, and I just went up to her at the end, and I was a bit like this, like literally sweating so bad, but I was like, I need a job, and like she sounds so cool. So I went up to her. No, you did that.
Fangirling.
No, I would never approach someone. I think you are the only person I've ever done it for.
Obviously,
it worked. We got in contact, and then when there was like some money.
Literally, when there was some money.
When there was some money, I started in October. I think I helped you from about August, July.
Yeah. Just bits and bobs.
Just bits and bobs. But then, creative producer at Talk 20s.
And can I just say, you have absolutely stepped into your role and are amazing. Like I couldn't have done this whole year without you. Like honestly, like
it's been something.
I think you've changed the whole business for the better. Like you have, no, you have though. Like this whole year, like I couldn't have got through without you because I think, like a lot of people will say, like guys, you've leveled up like a lot in this past year, but like it's because of like the team that we're now growing, and like obviously huge thank you to our sponsors, especially Zopa Bank that we work with, who are able to literally help us grow this podcast and has been able to kind of help us grow on this side of things because it wouldn't be possible without working with the brands that we work with. So guys, if you see us do an ad, like fully help us and support us because that's what makes this work.
It takes 2 seconds to like a video, and we know you like the videos.
Yeah.
We know you like the videos.
We know they're not like normal ads. A quick note from our sponsors, Zopa Bank, who are here to help you with your personal finance in the Zopa app. Zopa have a For You section on their app that gives you helpful, personalised insights, like reviewing your subscriptions, checking for cheaper broadband and energy bills. The first thing that you need to do is link your accounts using open banking. Once your accounts are connected, the available data will let Zopa understand your finances and give you personalised insights. It will also analyse your credit file and check your Zopa eligibility. Best of all, it's all free and at your fingertips always, so you can make sure you're making the best, most informed choice with your money 24/7. Download the Zopa app now to find out more. Honestly, I would be so lost without you this year. What's your day-to-day like for anyone who doesn't really get what creative producing Talk 20s looks like?
Honestly, so when I first joined, we had a talk, and I think it was a bit similar to you, like it was kind of open to the title of like what the job was going to be. And I remember at first it was about like social media manager. And then when we actually like, sat down and looked through like the responsibilities, I was like, this is not just social media, because it's
so much.
So obviously we're in Liverpool Podcast Studios, but I do the second edit of the podcast, create the clips. What else do I do? Handle the marketing, do the socials. I used to look out for guests. Joe helps out with that now. But basically just everything on the digital side of things, I just kind of run that. I did need the hand holding at the beginning. Like I had no idea about creative producing, like any technical things, social media. Like Gaby basically just taught me everything she knew. And then I just like also like picked up other things from like things that I'd researched.
Googling.
Google, TikTok. I'd like TikTok like hashtag strategies and all these things, and just trial and error.
But you know what's mad is that so many people look to you now as like someone to reach out to for advice and support in kind of doing what you do for a job. So many of our guests going, Georgia, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? Like you are now the go-to person. Like,
or people like, we get people in who've got teams of people behind them, and then they're like, oh, so who's going to be sending me clips? And I'm like, oh, it'll be me. And they're like, oh, so who does this? And I'm like, me. And they're like, who does this? And I'm like, that'll be me. And they get so confused how it's just like,
we literally have
such a small team.
Yeah. I think you're naturally so creative though.
Yeah. I don't know. Growing up, I'd get, even in like English literature and things like that, I'd get so stressed out. And like art, like Gaby knows this, but like I wanted to be a dancer, then I wanted to be a fashion designer. Just Googled what job pays the most and international business came up. And then I'd done that as a degree. Then decided I wanted to be an actor and then found you. So yeah, just mix it all up.
Yeah.
Anyway, you. On to you.
Go on then, Olivia. Give us your intro.
Olivia, I am the events and partnerships manager. So kind of a similar story.
You're a boss though. When I
like,
first met you, I was like, there's no way you're so young. Like I was so I remember saying to Gaby, like, how old is Liv again? Like, are you sure she's only that age?
Yeah. Well, similar story to you. So Talk Twenties put on like a goal setting workshop in January, and I joined that. I actually can't remember how I found out about it, but I took part in that. It was online. I really enjoyed the session, and part of the session was to find an accountability partner. And a couple of weeks prior, I'd seen someone on LinkedIn post about having an accountability partner, and I liked the idea, and I thought, you know what, like, let's get involved. So from that session in Jan, I then got 2 accountability partners. So I thought, this is fab, stayed up to date with Talk Twenties. And then I messaged Gaby afterwards, because I think at the time there was kind of rumours that TwentiesFest might be happening, and I'd said that I was studying an events management degree, and I liked the concept of Talk Twenties and I wanted to be involved. So yeah, I kept in touch, said I wanted to be involved. And then me and Gaby, I actually collared Gaby in a corner at an event. It was like...
There's a running theme here, guys. If you see me, don't back me into a corner and ask for a job.
Honestly, if you want a job, just like, just run after.
Just get me into a corner.
Someone else in general, like we get a lot of people like obviously volunteering for us, and they ask us like how you get into the industry.
Yeah.
And every single one of us has all said to them like, we kind of have just winged it. Like obviously you've got to like be open to like learning new things, like the skills that you need, but it's just going for it.
I think it is just putting yourself out there. So like from that conversation, I'd said I wanted to be involved. Gaby was like open to the conversation, did some like volunteering alongside my studies and the other work I was doing. And then it was a case of like, do you know what? I do really like this. Gaby obviously saw something in me, and then from there I've become full-time within the team.
Yeah, it's exciting. And obviously you've just hit the ground running. Like I actually don't know what I'd do without you full time. Like I'm like, honestly, like it's been brilliant to have you as part of the team, because I think I said this the other day, and I think it's the best description of what's happened. But basically it's like my brain has had babies. That's the best way I can describe it. My brain has had babies, and my like creative production vision for like the digital side of the business is Georgia, like, which is amazing. And then my kind of like commercial partnerships, event business side and operational as well, actually, is like Olivia. And like together we're like a dream team. I love it. But that's the best way I can describe it. And I think for anyone who's starting their own company, I never thought I'd be 28 and have like employees. That just seems wild to me. It's never been something I considered. My parents are not entrepreneurial in the slightest. I didn't know how to be an employer. still winging it. But yeah, like for me, it's meant that the business has been able to grow at such a faster rate and we're able to do way more things because, you know, I still work all hours a day, as you guys know, but like having you guys to back me up or pick up on things and to have your
emotional
own
support
as well. Like just to have your own projects that you're working on that I just know that you guys have got down. Like I don't even have to question, like it's made the world a difference.
I think that's massive and being honest. And you actually posted about it on LinkedIn the other week about just being honest and that not everybody has it figured out. You're never going to be 100% ready to go and you've just got to like take that leap and do it. A lot of the time, like obviously we've got our skills and we kind of know what we're doing, but at the same time, like a lot of it is kind of just putting yourself out there and winging it in a sense. Like
100%.
we're just trying to do the best we can and hopefully make something good in the end. Yeah, but we've not all got it figured out, and I think that's the whole concept of the business. And it's obviously
I don't think anyone has it figured out. I just genuinely believe if you say you do, you're lying. Like,
you're
lying. You can have certain areas of your life figured out, but not every aspect.
Yeah.
Like that's
literally why the structure of the podcast works, right? Because we literally get someone in who's like a guest expert or they've got life experience in a certain area of their life and they'll talk to us about that for about half an hour. And then the rest of the podcast is tell us your biggest adulting failure. Yeah. Tell us the things that you're struggling with right now so we can feel like you're a real human like the rest of us. And tell us one thing you wish you'd known at 20. And like that kind of brings everyone back into it. Like we went on BBC Radio in Merseyside yesterday and the producer said to me, she goes, I listen to Talk 20s and I absolutely love it. She's like, but one of the things I want to say to you guys is never, like, although you're talking about all these different things, it never feels preachy. And I was like, thank you. Like that's such a nice compliment because what we're trying to do here is not pretend that everyone's got it all figured out, but like they might have one area, they might have another, like
because it is such like an ick maybe.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it is such an ick when people like are telling you how they've done so well in their life, but they are preaching at you and they're not being open to like your background or like your struggles or where they've came from, like. So I don't think people really do that on the podcast.
We try and get it out of people. Like, how have you got to where you are? Like, what are all the privileges?
Before
what
the podcast.
We know that every time we like scratch below the surface. Like for what you guys don't see, we before we even get our guests, there's such a long process. We're going into podcast stuff here. We will talk about TwentiesFest in a bit, but before a guest even sits on that sofa, we have already spoken to them on social media. We've usually had a briefing call. I've done like probably at least 2-3 hours of research on either the specialist topic or on that person if there's a lot, if they've been on other podcasts or they're in the media and stuff like that. And then we meet them for a coffee for about an hour beforehand where they usually share us their deepest, darkest secrets with us, which never make it to air, very sadly. And we're like, please can you repeat it in the podcast? And they never do, but obviously if their secret is safe with us. And then we get them on the sofa and that's why we feel like we can kind of scratch below the surface and be like, okay, this isn't a surface level conversation. This is something that is actually like what's really going on.
People love that. They want to know all like the secrets and all everything that you don't get to know when you first meet someone. Everyone wants to know like what's hidden behind the curtain because that's what makes people real, right? Like everyone can be like, how are you? Yeah, I'm good. But like not to go too deep, but like, like how actually are you? Like what's actually going on and how did you get there? Like that's what people want to know because that's what makes people relatable and
that's what you don't get on social media. Because everyone's posting their best bits or and also like people's attention spans are so short. That's the beauty of podcasting. You've got a listener, thank you listener. You've got a listener who's there for like 45 minutes, like, and they're listening to someone share their whole story, which is so much more beautiful than just seeing something for a few seconds on social media.
And then we can bring them all to an event.
Oh yeah. And then if you love the podcast that much that you listen every week, you can, we're launching TwentiesFest, which we should.
Oh my God, the amount of times I have cried so many times reading people's messages. And Gaby done a survey before I started working here. And it was asking people like what they struggle with in life. And I think about 2,000 people responded to it. I sat looking through it and sobbed for like hours. I was just like, I understand completely like why you're so passionate about doing this. And even sometimes when we get messages about people like telling us like things about how we've helped their life or like how we asking us for help. And then to potentially be able to see them people in a room, I don't think I'll be able to.
No, I think we're going to get to the 1st of October and we're going to just be in like floods of tears. Like, excuse us if you see us on the 1st of October, absolutely bawling our eyes out because it's going to mean the world, like to actually do this. But Should we go a little bit back? We are filming this, just for context, we are filming this still quite far away from the event. We've got a good couple of months to the event, but when it comes out, this episode will probably come out, George's going on holiday. It's going to be produced. So we do record quite a lot earlier than things get released. Yeah. So there will still be many more surprises that we'll announce on our socials between now and then. So, but we can give you a bit of the tea on everything that we've got in the works. So you're getting the secrets. Let's talk a little bit about the idea of how TwentiesFest came about. Liv, we've talked about this so many times on calls and stuff like that. But like when you first heard about TwentiesFest, what did you think?
So I think obviously knowing what Talk Twenties is, I was just like, that's great. But also because my interest is events, I was like, do you know what? Like being able to be around people and not just sat like at home listening to a podcast and actually kind of bringing that whole concept to life, like that's fab. Like if I can interact with people who are there for a similar reason, so they might want to develop in a certain way or they might want to make new friends. I was like, that's brilliant. Like, and for our like 20 something age range, like I haven't seen anything and there isn't anything that is specifically.
It literally does not exist.
And it's like, why? So, well, let's just do it then.
Yeah, literally. So if we take people way, way back, Talk 20s was never supposed to be a podcast ever. That was not the plan. I did a couple of years teaching in a secondary school, and then I moved into the events industry I worked in the events industry for another 2 years, and then COVID hit. But whilst I was in that kind of career, I was like, hang on, if I put this events industry experience together with my teaching experience, I feel like there's a massive gap in the market for an event that caters towards young people leaving school. So when I was a teacher, many people will have heard this story before, but I was given a form of sixth form students when I was 22 years old.
Can we just say you were 22?
I was 22. It was literally, I don't even know, there was literally 5 minutes between them and us, basically. They were like 17, 18.
Yeah.
We only had a university degree pretty much between us, which was wild. And I don't know whoever made that decision. Stupid decision, but also the best decision, because this whole thing wouldn't have happened if not. And I used to go to school dressed like an absolute grandma, because there was this one time right at the beginning of the year and I was just dressed in like what I would consider smart, but like still like, what a 21, 22 year old would wear. Cool. And a teacher came into the classroom and was like looking around for ages because they couldn't pick me out of the difference between the students and the teacher. So from then on, I literally dressed like a grandma so that I would be like, hi.
That must be so confusing for like your identity though, like identity crisis.
Honestly, I felt like I was I think this was another thing why I hated so much graduating and all that kind of stuff, because it felt like I grew up and was 40 overnight.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing. I felt like I'd just gone from young to being old because I literally got thrown in with that responsibility. And like, if I really like deep it and really think about it a lot, that's basically what happened. So of course I was miserable. Of course I hated teaching. But at the same time, I was young. So, a lot of the students would ask me loads of questions like, Miss, what's the difference between credit card and a debit card? I'm really struggling with my mental health. Like I've just broken up with my first long-term boyfriend. I'm moving out when I go to university. What is that like? And we just started having these like honest, raw, open conversations as much as you can in like a secondary and sixth form centre. And it just kind of stimulated this idea of like, I was 21, 22, but I had nowhere to go to have these conversations. I'd maybe have it with my friends, but we were all trying to pretend that we had it all figured out after university, which we didn't. And no one was really having these honest and open conversations saying, look, when you step out into adult life, it's hard. Like it can be so uncomfortable. And so that was when like the seed was like sown. And I had quite a business head on my shoulder. I didn't think I'd have my own business, but I knew that I was like not using any of my like business skills whatsoever. And I could work for someone else doing that. So I left teaching and I found a job in the events industry, running business to business trade shows and exhibitions, 8,000, 10,000 attendees at this event. At the events we used to run, they were massive, huge. And, we literally had a massive hall. If anyone knows the NEC in Birmingham, massive hall, empty hall, there's nothing there. In 2 days, a whole event is built.
It's like a village.
Yeah, it's like a village. Yeah. And I worked my way up and got to be an events operation manager on those events. But they were in topics that, for me, were not very fun or interesting. medical technology, plastics manufacturing, additive manufacturing. Woo! So exciting.
That's crazy that many people would
Yeah,
go
literally
there.
crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if 8,000 people want to go to an event like that, they're going to want to come to TwentiesFest.
Yeah.
So I started like just, as I was doing I used to do a lot of long drives in that job. When I was doing long drives, just dreaming up this idea. And also when I was younger, I used to go to something called Close Show Live. From about the age of about 11, about the age of like 20, the NEC used to have an amazing consumer show, which was called Close Show Live. Now for a young girl in her teens, this was the absolute dream. You'd go there, there'd be makeup stands, there'd be live performances, there'd be clothes stands. It was literally like, it was the thing I'd look forward to every single year. And so I grew up seeing that as like, oh my God, this is amazing. And when I realized that, oh, okay, I could actually be in charge of putting on a show in business to business, but in the same setting, I was like, okay, I can do this. And then that's when the whole idea of TwentiesFest came about. Now, we knew from the kind of get-go that the NEC probably wasn't the right place to launch an event like this because it doesn't have the right aesthetic. It's literally like
It's not the vibe.
It's not the vibe. But we looked for venues that could host something like this, but had a bit of raw edge. And we're based in Liverpool. And one of the biggest, most popular venues in Liverpool is Camp and Furnace. So that's where we're launching TwentiesFest on the 1st of October, 2023. And it's just, it feels crazy to even say it.
12 p.m. till 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Is the timings. So if you're hungover from Saturday night,
you got time.
then you've still got time to get up and figure your shit out. So
Camp and Furnace feels so right though. Like obviously the core of this event, TwentiesFest, is like educational, like helping you figure things out, but it's also doing it in a fun and like relatable way to people our
Shouldn't
age.
feel like going back to school at all.
No,
Like,
yeah, exactly. Like we want people to learn, but we also want people to have a good time and engage and make new friends and enjoy their experience. Like 7 hours is a long time to be somewhere. So like the amount of things we've got going on separate to like the educational panel sessions and headline speakers, like we're putting on an event so that people can feel like they're in like a whole village of learning, but with all the best mates, and they can make new friends, and there's just like loads of different things to experience. And obviously this is a one-day event, but hopefully the kind of the follow-up from this will be so much more. It'll be building a bigger community and then hopefully as well people finding out more about Talk Twenties and engaging with us in that way as well.
Yeah, because obviously when I first started, it was like Talk Twenties it was like Talk Twenties podcast.
Yeah.
We
Well, that was
very
a
much
pivot.
like we
I
literally
wanted to
changed it completely and was like, it's Talk Twenties media company, and then it was like Talk Twenties TwentiesFest presented by Talk Twenties. But I want to say as well, like we've all kind of got like different personalities in some ways, like. And then I done a poll on one of our podcasts. I think it was Eve Bennett's one, because obviously education. And I done a little poll on there, and it was like, do you love or hate education? And then it was like, education is life, or like absolutely hate education. And I think it was 77% of the people said that they loved education. And I was so shocked because I would have probably said hate education. But it's because the way I think of education is like the formal way of going to school and being lectured at. Like there's a new, and that's literally what we're doing. Like it's a new way of being taught.
I think there's a difference between like this concept of education, and that's like the educational system that you go through via school and college and uni, if that's the route you go down. And then there's also education in the sense of learning. Like for me personally, I hated school, but I love learning and like I love being able to like find out new things and apply that through like different avenues in my life. And I think that's kind of really what TwentiesFest is about. Like it's not, I mean, we're using the word education, but it's not educational system.
No, you're not going to get sat down and be like, listen to this right now, make a note, and then do an exam. Like it's not
absolutely not furthering from that.
No, it's just learning, but it's about things that are actually relevant. And also the fab thing about this is that there's going to be so many different learnings that, like, if you're not interested in knowing about a credit card, fine, don't attend that talk and go and find out like how you get in the best relationship. So like we're covering so many different things, and it's not going to be like this formal, like you said, sit and listen and put your head down. It's like engage, like interact. Like we want to know what your thoughts are as well.
Thing, like I don't think any kind of graduates or people that haven't been into university, but they are like, maybe they've done an apprenticeship or maybe they've just went straight into work, like they've probably never been to anything like this. So it's trying to get them to imagine it, but it's never been done. So I think that's where it's been hard with like marketing it. We've said so many times, like letting someone see the vision without actually visually seeing it, and then just hearing us describe it. But I think people are starting to pick up, and it's really exciting. Like we had who was it that came on the podcast the other day, and they said to us straight away, they was like, we were sat there saying, oh, you know, you might not understand, I'm so sorry, of like, we can't show you any examples just yet because it's never been done. She was like, oh no, I understand completely. Like, I get it. And we were so shocked. It was amazing. So, and I think the way yous have also been marketing it to brands, to get brands in specifically that are like right for us. Because when we've said brands, I think some people also might just think that they're going to go in there, it'll be a bit like fresh as where there's...
Or like a careers fair or something like that.
Where there's people trying to get them to sign up to get jobs and stuff. But you and Gaby have done an amazing job at, like, can we tell them who we've got?
Well, we're speaking to some amazing brands and ones that you kind of would see and you wouldn't think, you know, careers fair at all. So like, I mean, maybe we'll say it now. It might get cut out of the podcast, but one of the things we're going to do is we're partnering with the amazing Thursday dating app. If you haven't seen them on social media, I don't know where you've been.
Check them out. Their marketing and their branding, like everything they do online is fab.
So good. And they're going to host a live blind date on our main stage in the afternoon.
I kind of want to get picked. Like I'm so buzzed about the idea.
No, I can't. I'm engaged. I can't do that. But like, they're going to pick people out of the crowd to have a live blind date on stage. So like when we say like fun, we really mean it. And then we're speaking to some other huge names. We're speaking to Lush,
Lux
Collective,
Collective,
Lux Collective. Any of these people, we can cut them out if they don't end up signing up as a brand. But there are so many different companies that we're speaking to that are just, you wouldn't typically expect to see at
some of these brands you wouldn't expect them to, because a lot of them now with like the new wave of social media, they're all trying to focus on Gen Z and like they're really trying to be relatable. But I think the brands that we're actually approaching are genuinely interested in helping people in our generation and like helping them figure out the life, helping them navigate in certain areas, or even just giving them things like literally just we're giving out free gifts to people. So
everything's not like a life lesson. Like some things are just, some brands are just there because it feels right and it'll make people have a better time.
They want to meet their audience.
Exactly.
Which is also in our demographic.
And I think some people might feel a little bit like, oh, like I don't really know what this is. Can I go by myself? Do I have to be with friends? What am I going to be made to do? And no one's made to, no one's going to be made to do anything. Like it's very much like you attend this event however you want to attend it. If you want to come and you want to be like on stage in some capacity, like things will be going on and you'll be able to be on stage in some capacity. If you just want to like browse and, you know, just chat to some people and then maybe not attend everything, that's fine. Like you can attend this event however you want to attend it. Like there's so many different ways to get the most out of it depending on who you are and what you want. So don't feel any pressure to attend with friends. Like we've had people buying tickets already and a lot of them are actually attending by themselves, which is fab. Like I attended a couple of events by myself and like that's how you get the most out of things sometimes, because you kind of feel like you can talk to people who you don't know because you're not in your circle of friends, and therefore like even if it doesn't feel as natural, like you just kind of do it because you know you're there by yourself.
It's like you've not got any expectations on you by the people that are around you.
Yeah, like if you want to have a chat with someone because they're sat next to you, they're also by themselves, like go ahead. Like this is a place for everyone. Like there really is so many different things going on and we're trying to make it as inclusive and as accessible as possible for everyone. We want people to get the most out of it.
Yeah, I would just say like, just be your unique self, and also like you can make the experience unique for you as well. Like it is just, I think that's the best kind of word that I can think to describe it is just completely unique. Like for the individuals, for like us as a like putting on the events, the brands that are there, like everything is.
And by coming in the first year, you can also help shape it, right? Because one of the biggest things that we've done in preparation leading up to TwentiesFest is we've asked for you guys to help us shape the event the whole way through. We don't want to create an event that feels really like disconnected from what you guys actually want. So like the first thing we did before we even announced the venue or did anything was launch a pre-reg form, and like thousands of you have have filled it in for us and given us so much information in terms of what you want to see at TwentiesFest, the topics you want us to discuss, and maybe we should go through some of them now. Just pull up some of the stats because like you said, it's been wild. So
one of the main ones was like so we've done a question which was, have you experienced struggles with any of these in the any of the following in the past year? And 63.4% of the responses said that they had worries about finances. And I think in all aspects, it can be personal finance, business finance, how to make more money, how to save money, but worries about finance. And I think it does affect your mental health so bad.
100%.
So we've got Laura and Moore is one of the main speakers, and she actually has podcasts on our channel, and it is amazing. Like, she speaks about how the words around money that you're using affect how you actually spend your money. And when I'm not interested really in finance, to be honest. When I had to do accounting and stuff like that in uni, I would just cry. But I genuinely would. But then I obviously have to watch the podcast over and over to edit it. And even all of the finance ones we've done, I've been like, wow, that I've taken so much from it. Even I was editing one yesterday and it was about tax codes. And obviously I've been working a full-time job since October, and I turned around to Gaby and I was like, I think my tax code's wrong.
We just figured that out.
Because I was editing the podcast.
That's crazy.
And it was I was getting a mini lesson. So we've definitely got some really good little lessons and people speaking at the event that will just kind of, I genuinely do believe it'll blow your mind, some of the things you'll learn about finances, because it's just the smallest of things that affect your life.
I mean, finance is relatable to everyone. Everyone has to have some money in some capacity. So even if you're I'm not too bothered, at some point you're going to need to manage your own money in whichever way that is. So just knowing about things, even if you're not actively doing anything, just knowing about the different things you should be aware of is super useful. Yeah,
I think as well we can try and shape it at the event. So it's not that you're being sat and it's a finance 101, you're getting a checklist of things to learn. There's things that you wouldn't even imagine would be related to finances, such as I don't know who spoke about it, but how you've been brought up, the words that your family or whoever's looked after you growing up have spoke about money, how it affects how you spend your money in day-to-day life. It is mind-blowing, genuinely. Blows my
100%.
mind. Do you want to do another?
So the next one after that, making new friends, which we've already said is TwentiesFest is going to be a fantastic opportunity to do that. We're working with a networking partner that is going to give everyone little NFT tokens. They look like a sticker that goes on the back of your phone. George has got one.
But we're going to have it branded.
Yeah, they're going to be branded. So this is Wing, and we're partnering with them. Shout out to Wing. They are going to have branded stickers that basically when you hover your phone over that sticker, it will pop up with a little, basically a business card or a little profile of you that will have whatever details you want to put in. So maybe it might be your name, completely up to you. Name, maybe it's your email, maybe it's your Instagram handle, maybe it's your LinkedIn, however you want to connect with people after that point, maybe your number as well. And you can then, it's not going to be awkward to walk up to someone and be like, hey, can I get your number? You will actually have we might as well give this thing a go. And you can actually then reach out to people. And like you said, Liv, you met someone who is your accountability partner, who is now one of I guess a friend of yours and stuff like that you've been able to meet off the back of a workshop that Talk 20s has done back in earlier end of the year. It is actually possible to meet people through events like this, and this is what it should all be about.
We were so unsure about doing the accountability thing as well. So it's so nice to hear that actually works for you, because I remember when we was doing that, we was like, oh, is anyone actually gonna...
Yeah, are they going to be bothered?
Do you know what I think is massive about that, and what I want to say about TwentiesFest is with Wing, with the connecting partner, that is an option. That's a nice intro for people who do want to connect, but there's still no requirement. If you don't want to connect and you don't want to share your details, you don't have to.
No.
But that's what was fab about the accountability partners, is I was a bit oh no, I might log off now. They're going to make me chat to someone I don't want to chat to. But it was very much if you want to, you can. If you don't, that's fine.
Yeah.
And it was a chance for the people who did want to say a little bit more about themselves and who they were looking for and what they would want from an accountability partner. So I think that's a really nice kind of path through Talk 20s and TwentiesFest. It's all about being inclusive, and if you want to take part and you want to throw yourself in, you can, and if you don't, that's fine, just sit and listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's what one of our main values is as a business. We just want people to feel as comfortable as possible. We don't want to have your boundaries. We are not gonna step into your boundaries. It's up to you what you want to do. And
well, 59% of people said they want to make new friends. And 55.5% of people said they are really experiencing a loss of direction in their 20s. And I think...
I was surprised that was not higher.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a huge amount, but figuring out your career in your 20s is like hard going sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. My friend was speaking to me the other day, and she's just finished a degree, and she's kind of like, what next? Like,
that was literally,
I didn't do a degree that I actually wanted to do, like, going forward after, like, obviously you get into your degree and you spend some time doing it, and then it's kind of like, do you drop out or do you like continue? And she continued, but now she's like, well, what next? And like, how do I get the relevant experience in something which I'm not even sure I want to do yet? Like, it's really hard to navigate that. And also, not everyone goes to uni.
No.
And like, for people who just like leave school or leave college, then it's like there's so many options, but like, where do you
overwhelming.
where do you direct yourself? And a lot of the time, which I've realized, I mean, I'm still young, but as I've grown older, like, there are so many things which I don't even know about, and only from like just chatting to people outside of my city or outside of my like area of interest, I then find out about these things which I would never have known about. And I think that's really tricky as well. Like, what do you actually do with yourself? Like,
I don't know. I think loss of direction, and like in another way of saying it, just for people that might not relate to that, like finding your purpose in life. Like, I think that might be why the results weren't higher, because it's maybe different wording. But I think I've heard every single person I know saying like, oh, I don't know what my purpose in life is, or I feel like I need to know exactly what I need to be doing right now. And it's like, you're literally so young, like you don't. And I know people say this all the time, but like there's people who are 50 who are just changing jobs.
Yeah.
And like, you don't know, like your parents, and this is kind of sad to think, but like your parents could have been miserable as you've been growing up, and they've just stayed in a job they don't like. And like, they need the oomph to get out of it. Like,
we need to talk 30s, talk 40s, talk 50s to be able to say this message. Yeah.
We got someone messaging us the other day who was about, I think he said he was 40 or like in his 40s, and he was like, I just want to say thank you so much for what you guys do on the podcast. Like, he was like, I know I'm not in my 20s, but I resonate. And I was like, your 20s is a vibe. Like, it's not just an age bracket. Like, because people are more...
It's a feeling, isn't it? It's that feeling of like stepping out into adult life, not feeling fully equipped based on the...
Not having the direction.
Not having the direction that you want.
So true. I remember my nana, and she died when she was 94, so just not too long before that. She was like, I still feel like I'm 20 in my mind. It's just my body that's not 20 anymore. So like, this learning is like ongoing. Like, obviously we talk about your 20s, but it's very much a case of like, it's how you feel. Like, everyone is still figuring it out at some point. And it's like...
And that being said, like, if anyone's listening to this who's not in their 20s and feel like TwentiesFest isn't for them, like, absolutely come along to it. Like, it is one of those events that is like, if you're feeling lost in adult life right now, this event is still for you. Yes, we might use the words 20s or graduates or things like that, because it's the easiest way to like define who we're speaking about and about this point in life. But it is for everyone.
If you're in the Talk 20s community.
Yeah, we're not going to ask your age.
No.
It's like age as you're coming in.
18 plus, that's the only thing.
Scary.
18 plus.
Another one I thought was interesting, just quickly, was 49.7% of people have said that they've dealt with loneliness in like their life. And I think that is just like the main point of the event, really, isn't it? Like, loss of direction and loneliness, like bringing it all together and just making people feel like they are part of something. Like, it's such, it makes me so emotional. Like the idea that people feel alone and not knowing how to navigate finances, not being able to make friends, like not knowing what they want to do with their life. And so, like, so many people, like some of my friends say like, oh, I don't know what I want to do in their life. And I'm like, they get down thinking it's just them that thinks that. And I'm like, you do know that's my whole job. Like, that is literally my whole job, just to like show people that even these like celebrities, they also don't know what their next direction is. We've had like Love Islanders on, or like people who've sold businesses for millions of pounds, and then they're saying, I just don't even know what I want to do next. Like, I'm just going with the flow.
I think like the term loneliness is like applicable in so many ways. Like, you can be lonely from like feeling like you've got a lack of friends, or lonely and you're in a position or a job that you really
isolated.
It just doesn't like do it for you. Or it's like you're lonely because you are so like into your job that you're not having time to see your friends, or whatever it is. Like, lonely can be like felt in so many different ways. And I think hopefully, like, we're not the answer to everything, but hopefully we're putting something on which people can tap into, and also like realize that everyone feels lonely at some point. And it's a case of like being able to chat to people because it's so true, you know, like a problem shared is a problem halved.
Yeah.
Like that saying is so true. Like when you chat
She
to
said that to my boyfriend last night. I was like, this problem will be solved if it can be halved. And he was like, you just don't get it. I was like, share it.
But when you chat to people, you feel better because people are like, oh yeah. And like, it's just about relating, isn't it? Like no one is going to be like giving you all the answers because no one has all the answers.
No one.
But being able to chat to someone and just like kind of taking it off your plate a bit, like that helps. And hopefully we're going to put on a place where people feel like that's something they can do within the event.
I know. Just a quick one. Just going to bring in a quote here.
Go you.
I know. Because I just think of it all the time. Because I graduated in last year and I like made a TikTok and it went like viral on TikTok. And it was literally just me, like in my cap and gown. I made all my friends the previous year. They done gap years, not gap years. They done work placements. And so obviously in final year, I was alone. And I graduated and walked out, you know, when everyone's throwing it up. And I was just stood there because I had no friends. I literally had no friends. And I was just like waiting for my mum to come round, like, so I wasn't alone. And then like, I remember my mum saying to me like, you're not alone, you just feel lonely. She was like, you are not alone, you just feel lonely right now. Like there's a complete difference in being alone and feeling lonely. And like, if you feel either of them, both can be solved. And I just remember like sobbing for like days after graduation thinking of that. But yeah, just thought I'd mention. Obviously, people used to think you'd done the business alone. I know this is a bit of a weird segue. But like, I remember I used to get so frustrated because people in I used to get so annoyed. People and no hate, love you all. People in the comments, like, or they DM Talk Twenties, and they'd always be like, "Hi, Gaby," and like even when I'd
be like crossing Gaby out on Pride Georgia.
No, like, and because it was more annoying because it was like, how do you think Gaby has the time to do all of this? Like genuinely, and I'd comment back like Talk Twenties Team. Obviously at the time it was just me full time. And I'd be like, love Talk Twenties Team. And eventually we've started now getting messages like, hi Talk Twenties Team, or like, hi specific names. I think we had one the other day that was like, hi Liv. And I was like, that's crazy. On the DMs. But yeah, I think the main way we got that to like people knowing that we was like an actual team is because people only thought that you only had the podcast for so long. And even before I joined, you obviously done the social media, but you had a blog. You started off with a blog. And you made a full-on website. No, like, tell me any other podcast you know that's got a full website like ours.
The website that we've got right now is literally like, what I wanted is with the podcast world, when you share a link, you're either sharing it to like Spotify or YouTube, or you're sending someone somewhere separate. But we obviously have it across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And so I wanted a place where you could click on a link and that would give you the access to wherever you want to listen to your podcast. Because everyone says wherever you listen to your podcast, but like you could actually click on that. So I feel like not enough people even know that the website exists, but head to talk20s.com and just have a click around, because so much work and effort has gone into that. And we wish we could put more effort into that because there's so much that's involved.
And I think saying that as well, like, that was one of the main things from going from Talk 20. It literally, our logo used to say Talk 20s podcast. And I remember being like to Gaby, like, we are not just a podcast. Like, and then we put in our bio more than a podcast. Just to subtly start selling the message. And
because
then
the whole idea was that TwentiesFest was my original idea for the whole business. And then COVID hit. So literally I came up with the idea. Well, I didn't come up with the idea. I had it for like 2 years beforehand. Then in January 2020, I finally said, I'm going to launch this thing. Then by March 2020, COVID hit and obviously no one could do in-person events. So I had to pivot, and the podcast was the pivot. And over time, like, we just started getting like outreach from like PR agents and managers and people wanting to come on the podcast. And it's just kind of exploded into what it is now. But like, it never came from that. Like, the event was the original reason. So it's so nice to be like going back and finally doing TwentiesFest, but having this whole community to launch it.
We are, it's essentially a media company, and like TwentiesFest is presented by Talk 20s media company. We are more than a podcast. And even with our street interviews, like, we purposely done that so we could, I don't know if you've seen them, if you've not, check them out. But like, we purposely started doing street interviews so we could show the real people in the street rather than the celebrities that we get on the podcast. And I think that's helped massively. And I don't know if you, like, we've got 80,000 people in Talk 20s community, which is insane.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
the whole concept of it is a media and events a business, and obviously like going forward we're not just going to do TwentiesFest and stop there. Like the plan is to do north and south year on year and grow, and hopefully one day we'll have massive festival tents and it'll be this huge event that thousands
also, guys,
of dollars.
I want to go global. Like I don't just want to do them in the UK. If we're really talking about dreams here, like I want TwentiesFest America, TwentiesFest Europe,
we do
20s
have listeners in America.
We do.
Hey.
Shout out. Hey. If you can't make it to Liverpool, we're coming to you eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole thing for year one is to prove that an event like TwentiesFest needs to exist. And for that, we need you guys to come to the event, show us what you love about it, show us how we can make it better for year two. And then, we haven't even talked about the fact that we applied for government funding for the event. They told us it was an absolutely amazing idea. They absolutely loved it. No cash. Great, guys. What do you think we're supposed to do with that?
Well, like the government funding, Gaby extensively read the comments that they gave back to us. And the main thing that they said, the reason why we didn't get the government funding is it wasn't technical enough. So it's not that we're building an app. But the whole point of TwentiesFest is to bring people together in real life and not just stick them on an app where they're feeling isolated.
Absolutely. As the world becomes more digital, like that becomes more and more important. Experiences and events and connections, and like that's exactly why TwentiesFest has to happen, because we need to like connect more than we do on the phone. Like we need to connect in person. Like people aren't gonna move away from that need to have human connections. And it's great, like the digital world, but it's not everything.
No, like whether you're like scared to meet new people, whether you're excited, whether you want to learn about anything to do with our four pillars, or just literally have a bit of fun for a day. Like it's anything you could think of that would benefit you is in one event.
And tickets are like £35. Like it's not massive, and it's a 7-hour event. Like
discounts too.
Well, tickets are £32 plus booking fees. We don't get those booking fees, just shouting that out there. We've also got mates rates. So if you buy 3 tickets, you can bring along a friend for free. So if 4 of you are coming, you can get your discounted tickets there. And then as you've listened to this episode of the podcast, and we absolutely love you guys, we're going to give you a special discount code. If you use the code podcast10, you can get 10% off any of your tickets. So we'd love to see you there. Like it would mean the world to us. If you've listened this far, like please do come along to the event. We'd love to see you there.
If you've got any questions about anything to do with the event as well, we've had a few already. Literally just send them to us. I do want to mention now, we can cut this out if not, but we'd like to all bring a pay what you can scheme to this, because obviously I know we've got the mates rates and I know we've got discounts, but if it is something that you really think is going to benefit you and for whatever reason you're struggling financially, like please do just send us an email or Instagram DM, and I'm going to put something out on socials for this, but just tell us the reasons why you want to come to the event, why you can't afford it, and what you can afford to pay, and we can try and sort something out for you.
Absolutely.
We'll try and allocate a certain amount of these tickets, but like we want to be able to give back to the community, so just let us know.
And on that note, we'll end our first podcast, but I feel like, I don't know, guys, if you've enjoyed this episode of us just chatting and story time, tell us, because we've been talking for ages about doing team or solo episodes.
So much we can speak
and
about.
There's so much. We'd love to do this again. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please comment below. And if you're coming to TwentiesFest, also please tell us. We'd love to see you there. And wow, that's the end of our episode.
Bye.